Good morning, students. Today's topic is acid properties. As you know well, a transaction in a database system must maintain atomicity, constancy, isolation, durability, commonly known as acid properties. In order to assure accuracy, completeness, and data integrity. Here, atomicity. This property states that a transaction must be treated as an atomic unit, that is, either all of the operations that are executed or none. These must be uh, no state in a database where a transaction is left completely that is a where a transaction is left partially complete. States should be defined before the execution of the transaction or after the execution or absorption or failure, or that is the failure of the transaction, failure of the transaction. Constancy. What is a constancy? Consistency. What is consistency? Ensure that the database property changes states upon a successful completed transaction. Here the database must remains in the consistent state after any transaction. No transaction should have any no transaction should have that is no transaction should have any adverse effect on the data residing in the database. Here, durability, that is ensure that the result of a uh, committed transaction persists in case of a system fail. That is, the database should be tunable enough hold all its latest updates even if the system fails or restarts. If a transaction updates a chunk of data in a database and commits commits, then the database will hold the modified data. If a transaction consists but the system fails before the data will be updated once the system springs back into action. This is a durability. And for isolation, enables transaction to operate independently of and transparency to each other is a isolation. In a database system where more than one transactions are being executed simultaneously and in parallel. The properties of isolation states that all the transactions will be carried out and executed as if it is only transaction in the system. No transactions will affect the existence of any other transaction. This is a isolation data. Here, what is a architecture of a database? That means database architecture. The design of a DBMS depends on its architecture, it can be centralized or decentralized or hierarchical. The architecture of a DBMS can be seen as either single tier or multi-tier. In one tier architecture, the DBMS database management system is the only entity where the user directly sits on the DBMS and use it. If the architecture of DBMS is two-tier, the architecture of DBMS is of two tiers, then it must have a application through which the DBMS can be as accessed. Programmers use two tiers architecture where they access the DBMS by mean of the by mean of an application. Three-tier architecture. A three-tier architecture separates its tiers from each other based on the of the user, complexity of the users and how they use the data present in the database. It is the most widely used architecture to design of DBMS. That is presentation tier, application tier, and database tier. Here, the presentation tier and application tier move from each other, and the application tier to database tier, they will move from each other. What is a database? That is data in a bracket tier, database tier. All these tiers are database resides along with its query processing languages. We also have the relation that defines the data and their constraints at this level. Then application, that is middle tier. At this tier resides at this tier resides the application server and the programs that access the database for a user. These applications tier presents and abstracted view of the database. End users, end users are unaware of any existence of a database beyond the application application. At the other end, the database, there is not aware of any other user beyond the application tag. Hence, the application layer sits in the middle and acts as a mediator between the end user and the database, end user and the database. Here, user, that is bracket user tag, and in a bracket presentation tag also, user as well as presentation tag. End users operate on this tire and they know nothing about any existence of the database, any existence of the uh, database beyond the layer. At this layer, multiple viewers of the database can be provided by the application. Long database users and administrators, those who are working with the database, can be categorized into two: the database users and the database administrators. What is a database user? The database users also can be categorized again into 5 groups according to how they interact with the uh, database. They are native users, application programmers, sophisticated users, specialized users, stand-alone users. These are the uh, 5 users.